You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello all. Welcome to a special episode of Armchair Cricket, where we will be reviewing the World Cup so far with the Cricketeers, New Zealand. Right? If you remember, they had once already done an episode with us. We had reviewed the New Zealand team with them. So in this case, they're back to help us review how the World Cup is progressing from New Zealand other team perspective. So I would like to welcome Adam from the Cricketeers New Zealand onto the podcast. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Ajit. Great to be joining you on the episode of your podcast.
Thanks a lot. So it's always a pleasure hosting you guys, and you bring a very unique Kiwi perspective, and also not only that, so it's always nice to have you guys. So let's get into it. We are recording this just before the match of Pakistan versus South Africa, so I think we had a couple of very memorable matches yesterday. So let's start off with the last one, New Zealand versus West Indies. Did you catch this, Adam?
I did. It was an incredible match. I mean, New Zealand lost some early wickets and were in all sorts of trouble. The opening partnership didn't contribute too many runs yesterday, but then again, Taylor and Williamson, New Zealand's two premier one-day batsmen, put a great partnership together and got us out of trouble. And Williamson played a fantastic innings of 148, just showing his class, his second 100 in consecutive matches. And that middle order is so important for this New Zealand side. I mean, I think we've got two of the best batsmen in one-day cricket at manipulating and managing the middle stages of a one-day international. They're both guys that know their games well, they're experienced, and they just know how to adapt to different situations and conditions. And I think it really showed yesterday. And then later in the innings, once Williamson was out, then Neesham, Gronholm and Santner ended up finishing off the innings really well. Some vital sixes in the final wash-up.
Indeed. Well, I mean, coming back to the second half of the innings, what a heartbreak, man. I mean, Gale kept it together, but, later on, he had Hetmeyer supporting him. But once they were gone, well, I was under the impression, New Zealand were going to win this match by, 50, 60 runs easily, right? But real good innings from Brathwaite. He was really unlucky to be out. Well, caught within like half a meter of the boundary by Trent Bolt. Did you see that?
I did. Well, it was a very good catch under pressure. It was quite an interesting innings from the West Indies. I mean, they lost a couple of early wickets. They lost Hope and Puran really early on, and then Hetmeyer and Gale got them right back in the match. At one stage, they were going 6, 7 and over, and I was thinking, West Indies have got this. All they need to do is knock it around, and they should be fine. And take it deep. But in the end, Hetmeyer was out to a great slow ball by Lockie Ferguson at a really vital time. And then Chris Gale went for the big shot, got caught on the boundary. Holder was then nicked out. And then from there, they just lost regular wickets. And, it was a fantastic innings by Carlos Brathwaite. I mean, we've seen him perform well in 2020 cricket before. We remember, a few years ago when he hit Ben Stokes for 4 sixes and 1 over. But he hasn't really been able to establish himself in one-day cricket for the West Indies, and yesterday he really showed that he's got the talent to succeed at the international level in the one-day game.
Indeed. I mean, he showed the patience to actually play out enough overs with the tailenders, especially Roach and Cottrell, and even in the end, O'Shane Thomas kept him company for almost like half an hour, and it was a matter of one shot. And my God, he had hit that. If it was not the biggest part of the ground, probably that was a clear 6, right? He was a bit unlucky there as well. But, well, it went down that way. And also, it was nice to see, at the end, I think Ross Taylor and a couple of Kiwi players commiserate with him. He was still, on his haunches in the pitch. And it was nice. Absolutely. That picture was very nice.
In terms of the West Indies, I was having a discussion with someone today about their innings. And, they were so ahead of the game. All they really needed to do was, knock it around for ones and twos. At one point, I think they were 130 for 2 and about the 22nd over. And most teams in the world cricket, you think would just consolidate, knock it around, keep the scoreboard ticking over. I mean, they were well ahead of the run rate. But I think it just shows you the limitations with the West Indian batting lineup. They don't have another batsman outside Shea Hope that can really just knock it around. They've got all power hitters. And I think also with Chris Gale and the way he plays, he's not a guy that's going to knock it around for ones and twos anymore. Obviously, he's got fitness concerns, and I think in the end of it, the limitations really shone through yesterday. But I think in terms of Carlos Braithwaite, like he played an exceptionally good innings. New Zealand's been on the receiving end of some interesting and nearly match-winning innings over the last couple of years. I mean, I remember Marcus Stoinis against us at Eden Park got 146 not out.
Right.
When Australia was in trouble. Pereira did as well. So, we've been into this situation before, and we won those two matches, and it was really pleasing to see Jimmy Neesham bowl well at the death. Like his death bowling's has been under scrutiny over the last few years. In that game against Australia, he was plastered everywhere by Stoinis, but he really held his nerve, and he bowled some great slow ball bumpers, and he kept the pressure on, and then obviously Braithwaite caught on the boundary. Just in regards to Braithwaite as well, one thing that went through my mind was he still had an over left. I mean, could he have knocked it around in the last ball, gone for a single, and then maybe tried to hit out in the last over?
Well, I mean, who was going to bowl the last over was the question for me. So would Kane Williamson have gone to Matt Henry given that he had given so many runs away? Or would Colin de Grandhomme have bowled the over? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. It's just a possibility. But it was going to be an interesting concept. What you say is also relevant. I think he saw his chance. He just saw that this was the shot that could finish the game off, right?
Yeah.
And for him, it was always going to be one shot to finish the game. Whether he took a single and then did it in the next over or in this over, that's how it was going to be. But, probably all these small things didn't really enter his head. Maybe when you play on the other side of the pitch, you are actually facing the shorter boundary and you have a good chance, But yeah, I mean, it was almost there, man. I mean, it was a real heartbreak for me at least. And, this is the second match where New Zealand got out of the jam thanks to Mr. Kane Williamson. How does this guy play the way he does? We were looking at the other innings against South Africa. He had 72 dot balls in his 100. I mean, that's unbelievable, but that was what was required in that pitch. And he did it. Right?
Absolutely.
My God.
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier that he's got the ability, like Ross Taylor, to adapt their games to different conditions and different situations. And you saw a different Kane Williamson yesterday. Against South Africa, he was really measured. He really absorbed a lot of pressure. He batted a lot slower. His strike rate wasn't there, but he batted to the conditions. And yesterday, again, New Zealand were off to 30 for 12, 10 overs. He absorbed pressure early on, but then he started to play shots, and he was going at a run of ball. Wasn't as slow as by any chance, and he hit some power shots as well. So he's just a guy that knows his game, and he's a class batsman. And I think, we're just talking about the West Indies side. For all the talk about power hitting being so valuable in one-day cricket, you still need class batsmen to hold innings together. And I think that's what Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson showed yesterday.
Indeed. The only thing is, at no point in the tournament have Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson been asked to score very rapidly. Right? I mean, they've had the time to build an innings, and mostly Ross Taylor can easily make it up, so can Williamson, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder how they would respond in a chase of 350, for example, right? Where they're asked to keep hitting from, let's say, ball one, or probably their approach would not change much, but I wonder if that sort of a challenge would actually make it very difficult for them.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned with that, because I think the pitches that New Zealand's played on the World Cup so far haven't been really batting-friendly decks. Ironically enough, we in the first four matches, we won the toss and were able to bowl first, which helped out our seam bowlers. But the pitches that we've been playing on haven't really been great batting decks. A couple of seasons ago, we played England and we were 2 down, and Ross Taylor came out and played a blazing knock and got 181 not out and hit the ball to all parts. And I think on that occasion we were chasing around 330. So, our team's shown that we can do this before. Last time we were in England in 2015 when we played a series against England. We scored some big scores against England, and it was a really high-scoring series. Okay, in the Champions Trophy in 2017, it wasn't quite like that, but I'm not really concerned. I think as soon as we can get on good batting decks, I think this batting lineup will fire.
So, a couple of points of concern, so to say. Guptill hasn't been really performing to the best of his abilities. So that means the rest of the top order is under pressure, and Colin Munro hasn't really done much either. Right? Any chance of Henry Nicholls replacing Colin Munro, do you think?
They seem to have a lot of faith in Colin Munro. At this point, I think they see Colin Munro as being that McCullum kind of figure at the top of the order, the guy that gets on with the job, that get the innings off to a bang, along with Martin Guptill, and that allows Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor to get themselves in and establish an innings. The problem is in the tournament so far, apart from the match where New Zealand were chasing that total against Sri Lanka, and Colin Munro and Guptill fired, they haven't set the world on fire, and I think that's a massive concern for New Zealand. I don't think there's a massive concern regarding Guptill. I think Guptill will end up getting into form. He's a class player. He's shown in the 2015 World Cup. He was out of form early on in that tournament, and he scored 100 against Bangladesh, and he scored obviously that 237 not out against West Indies in the quarter final. One of the best innings you'll see in one-day cricket. Colin Munro's a big concern because it's not just this World Cup. It's been formed for the last couple of years. He's a makeshift opener at best. Before becoming an opener in the one-day arena for the Black Caps, he actually didn't bat in the opening position in list-day cricket. So it's kind of like a new role for him. I don't think he's really cemented himself in the Black Caps one-day side.
Well, how about the middle order? Again, Ross Taylor is doing his job, but, Tom Latham doesn't really fire. And Jimmy Neesham, I think he's done his bit. And Colin de Grandhomme adds a bit of power there, right? And he showed it really also in the game against South Africa. But is that a concern at all? Or are we feeling okay about the New Zealand middle order?
Yeah. It's funny. Like, at the moment, we're undefeated after 6 matches, including the washout against India. And there's always room for improvement. Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson can't perform every day. And at some point, one of the other batsmen will have to step up. And I think we've got to remember that Tom Latham came into the World Cup under an injury cloud. So he didn't get a lot of batting before the World Cup. I'm sure that he'll get some form soon. Colin Gronholm batted extremely well against South Africa. Actually had an all-round great game against South Africa, picked up wickets and also scored that valuable 70 runs at the end. Jimmy Neesham, you're right, he's played some crucial little innings. He hasn't had an opportunity to have a really long bat, but he's just played some crucial little cameos. Mitchell Santner as well, played a good little knock against Bangladesh. So, and I think for us, it's just going to be our openers that are going to have to do the job at some point. Hopefully it'll be a big game because it will be against a pretty good Pakistan attack.
Indeed. Well, I mean, we sort of look at New Zealand. I think the bowling is really doing okay. Matt Henry was pasted a bit all over the ground. Are there any concerns that if, like what happened yesterday, like one specific bowler or one specific batter getting stuck and, has this big hitting capability and he will block or hit, something like this, right? Because he's batting with the tail. That there's not enough variety in the slower bowling in the spin department. Is that a concern at all?
Look, Mitchell Santner has proven that he's a very tight and economical bowler in one-day cricket. He's not the biggest wicket-taking bowler around. He's not Kuldeep Yadav. He's not a Adil Rashid. He's not going to get big bags of wickets, but he can keep the pressure on. I mean, we've been down this road before, as I said, with Stornis and Pereira. I mean, sometimes you've just got to give kudos to the batsman. And in this case, Carlos Braithwaite just played a fantastic innings. The bowlers have done well. Ferguson is the second top wicket taker in the World Cup. Trent Boult found some form yesterday, getting a 4-wicket bag. But look, as we know in cricket, everybody has a bad day at some point, And yesterday, unfortunately, it was Matt Henry. Henry is bowled well in the tournament up to date. It was a good batting deck. Chris Gale got to him a little bit. The thing with Matt Henry as well, I will say, is he did look a little bit flustered once Gale got hold of him. And it even affected his all-round game. Look, he dropped that catch on the boundary as well off Gale. So that'd be a bit of a concern, his ability to handle pressure. But look, I think so far the bowling unit's done really well. It'll be interesting to see how this bowling unit does on really flat decks. For me, that's the big question mark. In the first 4 matches, as I pointed out earlier, we actually got some wickets that really suited our seam bowlers. But how would they go, say, on a real flat deck like a Trent Bridge, for example?
Indeed. So, I think that was a very decent discussion about New Zealand as they have performed in the World Cup so far. But how about looking further? So, how do you think New Zealand will fare going further in the World Cup? Do they have the capacity to go all the way, do you think?
Well, I think they're in the bunch of teams that have got a great chance to win the World Cup. I mean, at this point in time, as we talk, it looks like the Black Caps will make the semi-finals. However, they still have to win the last 3 games to ensure that they do make the semi-finals. They've got Pakistan next, and then they've got Australia and England. I think we'll get a better assessment about where this Black Cap side is after we play against Australia and England. Unfortunately, the game against India was a washout, so we didn't get a chance to see the Black Caps against arguably the best team in the tournament. The Black Caps did get beaten 4-1 at home by India, so we know how good India is. But I think this Black Cap side at the moment is playing with a lot of confidence, and they seem like they've got their combinations right. But yeah, look, definitely. But once you get to a semi-final, it's a one-off game. I mean, you can go through the tournament round robin stage undefeated, yet you play one knockout game and you're out. So I think it just depends on which team turns up on the day.
Mm-hmm. I think you appeared a bit pessimistic in the preview when you said New Zealand might not make it, but it all points to the fact that I think New Zealand will be one of the teams in the semi-finals and also might go into the finals. So I really hope, they go ahead and crack this, and maybe, this might be the tournament they make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the concern for New Zealand so far is that, we've had 3 real tight games, one against Bangladesh, South Africa, and the West Indies. So the margin between our worst performance and our best performance is really small. You look at teams like England and India, they seem to be able to really perform exceptionally well on occasions. But, look, England got beaten by Sri Lanka, which was unexpected. And then India, nearly got tipped up by Afghanistan. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe the close matches will make us match hardened going into the semi-finals.
Indeed. So now if you were to look at the other teams who are on forms, let's start with India because we already brought it up. So India nearly got tipped over by Afghanistan. It was a really, really tight contest. Were you able to follow this?
I didn't watch it. I did look on Cricinfo and I was surprised that Afghanistan got so close, nearly tipping over India. And it's funny with cricket, Afghanistan were actually mauled by England, a few days ago. Yeah, they come out and they play exceptionally well against a great Indian side. And it just shows you, I guess, the fortitude and also the character in the Afghanistan side. To be under that much pressure against England, you come out against India and really perform well. So it was great time for Afghanistan, and they've had a pretty poor World Cup so far, so they played exceptionally well. In terms of the Indian side, sometimes teams just have one of those days where things just don't quite click. So I wouldn't be concerned from an Indian perspective. I mean, Bumrah bowled well in the death. Shami got a hat-trick, so that was a plus for them. And their bowlers all performed well. I think Virat Kohli so far has had a relatively quiet tournament. He hasn't got 100 yet. So from an Indian perspective, I mean, look, you have to be excited on the prospect that he's got at some point should hit form.
Yeah, you're probably right. And, there was a bit of a concern there. And, India were going to have one bad day. For sure, they were going to have one bad day, right? So with that in mind, I think it's good that they had this one bad day or this sort of a warning sort of a match earlier on. And probably they can now make it more competitive and make sure they iron out all these stupid errors that crept into the game yesterday. It was a more sticky pitch than most people assumed, I guess, because Afghanistan did well and they had 4 spinners that they could use. And that brought out, I think, the stickiness of the pitch got really exacerbated when they did that, because even people like Dhoni struggled yesterday. Jadhav struggled. Everybody, Rahul struggled. Rohit Sharma was out very early. So when you look at all that, it's very clear that, it was a sticky pitch. And of course, India had some good spinners, so they were able to push it through and nearly not give it away. And of course, the hat-trick at the end by Shami was really, really impressive. Yeah. So he wrapped it up very, very cleverly. So I think going on with the form, I think India is still one of the form teams and the teams to beat. How about England, do you think, Adam?
Wow, yeah. I mean, England's a funny side at the moment, aren't they? Like they thumped South Africa in their first match. They lose to Pakistan. Then, they trying to think the next match that they played, they hammer the West Indies. Then suddenly against Sri Lanka, they get tipped up. I still think they're one of the top teams. I don't think they should be concerned about losing to Sri Lanka at all. I think they'll bounce back. I think they're really missing Jason Roy at the moment. Jason Roy's one of the reformed batsmen in World One Day cricket, and I think they're really missing the services. No disrespect to James Vince. I think the loss of Roy's been a massive blow to them. Johnny Bairstow's had a relatively quiet World Cup. I was predicting he was going to be one of the stars of the World Cup, but so far he's averaging about 40 with the bat, which isn't bad. But take out his performance against Afghanistan, he hasn't really performed the way I thought he would. He hasn't had those dynamic innings, and even against Afghanistan, he was pretty measured, wasn't he? I mean, going like a run of ball, usually he's 100 off 70 and really dominating attacks. Josh Butler a little bit as well, even though he's got 100. But yeah, if I was England, I wouldn't be too concerned. I mean, as we pointed out, teams sometimes have bad days. And it happened to England, and every team has a good day, and Sri Lanka did, and it was great to see Malinga bowling well again. That young kid Fernando is an exciting player, and those things happen in cricket. I think from England's perspective, they've just got to put that game aside, not think about it, take out the positives, look at the things they need to improve, and just move on. But I still expect England to be a real threat in the latest parts of the World Cup.
Indeed. Well, let me point out something. They have 3 games coming up, one against New Zealand, one against India, and one against Australia. Right? Let me just say these are the 3 other form teams in the tournament. And, there is a banana peel possibility. I mean, I'm going to just lay it out. What if they were to not win even a single one of these games, and Pakistan goes through and win all 4 of them, for example, of their games? How about that? Then is there a chance England might even miss out?
So that would mean that England would be, 4 and 5? Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. They have 4 now and they would stay there.
So based on that, the West Indies would still have a shot, wouldn't they? And South Africa.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's an outside possibility. It'd make the end of the World Cup really exciting if England lost their last 3 games. I think England's good enough to win at least one of those games. You'd think at some point they'd strike form. And also New Zealand's undefeated. Australia has only lost the 1 game. And based on law of averages, you think that England can win one of those games. But, look, if they don't, well, I mean, what an exciting end to the World Cup. Incredible, wouldn't it? Imagine the West Indies, Pakistan, maybe Sri Lanka, all being on the same points as England.
Yeah, and net run rate coming into it. So, I mean, just a possibility. I really don't see that coming through as well. Frankly speaking, I think England will probably beat one of India or New Zealand. And this Australia game can go either way because, with England and Australia, it can never be a simple affair. So, who knows? But let's see. I mean, India will want to continue to win. They'll want to go as close to unbeaten a run as possible into the semi-finals and probably take it from there, right? How about Australia then?
Yeah, Australia have been exceptional in the World Cup so far. I mean, David Warner and Finch have been on form. David Warner got a little bit of criticism for batting slowly early on in the tournament, but look how well he batted against Bangladesh. Batted extremely well. I actually stayed up and watched that innings. It was an incredible innings by David Warner. Smashed it around the place. At one point, I was actually thinking he was going to go on and get a double century, and then Sakari bowled that slow ball bouncer, and he was caught at short third man. But yeah, that was an incredible innings. Khawaja as well batted extremely well, and then Glenn Maxwell came out and played a little blinder. So yeah, Australia played really well so far. And you think about that first game against the West Indies when they're in all sorts of trouble. Shane Thomas got them on the back foot, and they were able to recover. Coulter Nile played that incredible innings, and then from there Australia's got a lot of momentum. Mitchell Starc again proving he's one of the best one-day bowlers in the world, on top of the wickets tally with 15 wickets along with Jofra Archer. For me, the concern with Australia is their support cast outside Starc and Cummins. For me, that's a massive concern for them. It's that first change seamer. And that's where I think they really miss someone like Josh Hazlewood or a Jai Richardson. I'm not really convinced about their spinners at the moment. I think Stoinis is a bit loose with his bowling. Batsmen can really get after him. Coulter Nile, he's okay, but he's still not picking up bags of wickets. There's always Cummins and Starc, and I think if teams can see off Cummins and Starc, they can then attack the other bowlers. And I think That's what India did against Australia. You noticed that Dhawan and Sharma really just saw off those two, and then really started getting after Coulter and Stoinis. And then at the end, when Stark and Cummins came back, they were trying to get established batsmen out and put them under pressure. And that's when they started going for runs, because they were trying to get that wicket-taking delivery. And I think for a lot of teams, that's going to be the key, is seeing off Stark and Cummins.
You're absolutely right. I mean, their support cast of bowling looks a bit suspect. The spinner Adam Zampa has really not done a whole lot as well. And Glenn Maxwell has had an occasional good game because he's able to also deliver 6 to 8 overs with the ball. But, Stoinis or Glenn Maxwell, one of these two, their fourth and fifth bowlers can be really a problem for them. That's right. But, I mean, they have also won, let's say, 5 of their games, only losing to India. And they'll need only one win from here. So I somehow tip Australia to make the semi-finals. And once they're in the knockout side, it's a different Australian team always, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, they've got a fantastic history in one-day cricket, don't they? Especially at World Cups. They've made so many finals and won the tournament on many occasions. I mean, when you look at this Australian side, though, I wouldn't put it up there with one of the great Australian sides either, which kind of says something for me. I mean, even though they've got some class players, there's still a few chinks in their armour I think that teams can get to. The positive for Australia has just been their top order.
Indeed. The top 4 are really solid, and I think they might get them out of trouble many times. But I'm also curious against a properly solid bowling attack like in England or in India. India, they did come up a little short. So against England in one of the upcoming games, for example, it'll be an interesting also, experiment for them to see if, they can probably solidify it a bit more. But if England bat first and they get to around 330, 350, it's going to be a really good match, I think, because they'll also get to test themselves and see how far they can stretch themselves. And maybe the middle order gets to, chase 100 of 60 balls. It'll be an interesting challenge for the Australian team, I think. Right?
Absolutely.
But now, if you were to just finish off and look at the scenarios for the semi-finals, there has been an interesting article in Cricinfo. I don't know if you saw it. There are some interesting semi-final scenarios, but one of those we already discussed. If England were to not win another game or just win one of those games, they would be neck and neck with many teams. So outside of India, New Zealand, England, Australia, do you see any possibility of any other team make the semi-final at all?
Well, it all depends on whether those 4 teams that you mentioned lose matches in the remaining rounds. So Pakistan's on 3 points, aren't they? West Indies are on 3 points, so they'd have to win their last 3 games. So that would take them to 11. If Sri Lanka won their last 3 games, they would get to 12.
Yeah.
But then it also relies on other results. So, I mean, look at New Zealand, for example. Like, we're on 11 points with 3 matches to go. If we were to lose to Pakistan, England, and Australia, then we would be on 11 points. But I think the advantage for New Zealand is our run rate. Our net run rate at the moment is very, very good. And it just kind of shows you how vital that match was against the West Indies yesterday and also against South Africa. If we would have lost one of those matches, then we would have been under a little bit more pressure with teams under us still having a chance to win, and then the West Indies would have been on 5 points. So, it just shows you the matter of metres between winning a match and losing a match, isn't it? I mean, you're right. Their breakaway hits a 6, the West Indies win the game, and they're still in the tournament.
Right.
So I think probably at the moment, when you realistically look at it, you would say that the top 4 is sealed. I mean, I think from memory, Sri Lanka's got final 3 matches is actually quite tough. So I wouldn't expect them to win all 3 games. But I think Pakistan is probably the only side that could mount a bit of a challenge at the top 4, but they've got to win all 4 games and hope that one of the teams in the top 4 loses the odd game.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I don't see a possibility of an upset. It's going to be those 4. And from here, if I were to put you on the spot, who will win the tournament, Adam?
Actually, I'll just also make a note. Bangladesh are on 5 points, so let's not write off Bangladesh. I think they could win their last 3.
All right. So let's see if one of those 4 teams, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, West Indies, and Pakistan can still throw their hat into the semi-finals. But if it all goes to plan, if the other 4 teams, India, Australia, New Zealand, and England, sort of seal the semi-final spots, whom do you think will win the tournament?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I think it all depends on pitch conditions, who wins the toss. lots of different things. I think, like looking at the Indian side, for example, you'd think they'd be the best equipped team to win the tournament in just about every condition. You think about their bowling lineup. They've got two exceptional opening bowlers, two great spinners, and a very incredible death bowler in Bumrah. So you'd think that they'd be the team that would probably win it if I was gonna pick a favourite. I think for India though, they've lost Dhawan, and he's a massive loss. He's one of the best one-day batsmen in the world in the position. So I think they're going to really miss him. So I do expect Kohli to hit form at some point. Like he has made some good scores. I mean, he scored some runs yesterday against Afghanistan, but he hasn't really stamped his mark on the tournament yet. And I think that with 3 matches remaining in the round robin and also the semi-finals, I think it's a big chance for Kohli to really lead this Indian side. So if I was going to pick a winner from here, I'd probably say India. I think New Zealand's got a great chance as well, but I guess it all depends on the day. You know, I think any one of these teams can beat each other. I know that's sitting on the fence a little bit. But for me, it all comes down to that. I mean, are the pitches going to be batting friendly come semi-final time? Will there be rain around? Will it be seaming? You know, if New Zealand were to get, say, India and they get a green pitch and they send India in, you know, great chance for us to knock over the Indian top order and rip in and win the match against India. You know, I think it just depends on many different factors.
All right. Well, for our sakes, let's really hope it's going to be an India-New Zealand final and may the best team win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and New Zealand's been in the semi-finals for so many occasions. In 2015, we made our first World Cup final, which was awesome. You know, hopefully this time around, the pressure won't get to our lads. You know, we've been in semi-finals for so many years and just happened to lose the big games. But I think this Black Cap side at the moment is playing with a lot of confidence. You know, we've had 3 extremely close games in the tournament. That may have made us a little bit more match hardened. The other thing as well with the Black Cap side as well is we didn't play a lot of lead-up games coming into the World Cup. So a lot of our boys might be a little bit more fresh than some of the other teams. Also, a lot of our players didn't play a lot of IPL. They play the odd game here and there. You know, they weren't the stars of the IPL playing every single match. So again, our guys could be just a little bit more fresher. Maybe that time away from cricket will have done some of our boys some good. So that's just another element. When you think about the England side, who played that one-day series against Pakistan before the tournament, you had Australia touring India and also going to the UAE to play Pakistan. So all those sides have played a lot of cricket leading into the World Cup, where New Zealand didn't play as many warm-up games. I think we had a few games with our second 11 against Australia. I think it was in Darwin, or Northern Territory from memory. So apart from those matches and the warm-up matches against India and West Indies, we haven't really had a full-on schedule. So, yeah, you know, hopefully New Zealand can take it one step further and win the World Cup this time.
All right, Adam. Thanks a lot for your wonderful insights and also some very nice analysis that you've provided for the teams in the World Cup. So it has always been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Would you like to plug anything?
Yeah, you can find our podcast on iTunes. It's Cricketeers NZ, or you know, we're on Twitter. You know, we follow you on Twitter, and you follow me on Twitter. So you can find us through Twitter as well. A little bit sleep deprived at the moment with all this cricket going on. The time zones aren't so good, but that's where you can find us on Twitter or via iTunes.
All right. Thanks a lot, Adam. I hope you get a good night's sleep now. I'll not retain you for much longer. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.